This conference will now be recorded.
Great. Welcome everyone, and thank you for participating in tonight's meeting. This is the Elephant Swamp Trail online community outreach meeting. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is we have an agenda, and I will go through a couple of housekeeping items afterwards. So we're going to have a brief introduction and project overview, followed by the existing conditions and planning considerations. And then we'll wrap up with some public input and Q&A. Since we are a smaller group tonight, we can do our Q&A one of two ways. We can do them live as we go along. If you have a question and you're on screen, you can sort of wave your hand to me and I can pause and take your question and ask Mike and Kevin, our presenters, to answer them for you. Or for those of you participating via the computer, in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you will see the chat box. The little chat bubble is there, and you can type your questions in to the chat, and I will ask them as we go along. And then when we get to the end, we can sort of have an open discussion where you can ask your questions as you'd like. For those of you who have called in, and there's quite a bit of you, what I'll do is I'll just go down the list alphabetically and unmute you one at a time and ask you if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the team. Once again, we just want to remind everyone to please do stay muted, and that would be very helpful for us to eliminate any background noise or distractions. And again, if you have questions, just type them into the chat box and we'll get to them as we go along. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to our lead, which is Bill Revere from NJDOT, who will tell you a little bit about us and the project. Bill?
Thanks, Nicole. I'm Bill Revere from NJDOT. And the project today, we're talking about the Elephant Swamp Trail. This actually came through New Jersey DOT's local planning assistance program. If somebody could advance the slide. This is a program that helps towns put together bicycle and pedestrian plans. We've done over 80 of these over 20 years. There's no cost to the local community, and we have expert consultants under retainer to put together these plans. Tonight, the consultant is NV5. They're experts at bicycle and pedestrian work, and we're excited about what we've gotten done so far. So for more on the plan and everything about it, Mike Dannemiller from NV5. Mike?
Hi, folks. And really, before I get going, Carolyn and Donna, did you want to say something about how we ended up in the room?
Well, I'll say it's due to COVID that we're in this room. Happy New Year, everybody. Donna and myself have looked at some way to see if we can make our trail system better for the residents in Elk Township. And since Donna heads as our liaison to Environmental Commission, I'd like to turn it over to her.
Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks everybody for joining tonight. This journey kind of started in late 2019, so well over a year. I wanted to thank Sonia of the Tri-State Transportation Campaign and John Boyle of the Bicycle Coalition, who actually came to the Elk Township Environmental Commission meeting with this idea to help improve the trail. So I wanted to, again, thank Sonia. She kind of led the effort to participate in this DOT local bicycle pedestrian planning assistance program. And the goal of the program and this plan is to enhance the safety and the accessibility of the Elephant Swamp Trail. We'd like to thank Bill Revere of DOT and the engineering team, Kevin, Michael, Bettany, and Nicole, who's doing the community outreach. I also wanted to thank the Elk Township Environmental Commission, Bob Clark, Frank Goss, Kevin Costello, Terry and Al Richardson, and Joanna Contarino. So I really appreciate everyone's support. And again, the whole goal of this was to look at our trail and to try to enhance it from a safety and accessibility perspective So really it enhances the township's use of the trail and enjoyment of the trail. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you guys, Mike.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that, Donna and Carolyn. And yes, so I'm Mike Dannemiller. I'm here with Kevin Perry. I'm a civil engineer, principal engineer over at NV5. Kevin's landscape designer, I think is what we call you these days. Does that sound right, Kevin?
That's right.
And we're thrilled to be able to help out with projects like this. You guys know your town better than we could. We're privileged to come in and take a look at things. And as Bill Revere often says, hey, we may be specialists as bicycle, pedestrian, traffic calming, complete streets, keeping people safe no matter how they choose to travel. We know you guys are the experts on Elk and Upper Pittsgrove and the trail and taking care of it. I know some of you have been very involved with this for a long time. So we can help make crossing safer and give you insight about the surface treatments and wayfinding signs and such, but we know that's just a drop in the bucket. It's a small step. We did take a look at the history, where this came from. We know it's coming from the old Western Jersey seashore line. And we get it that circuit trails, and we'll hear from Anya and maybe even from John in a little bit, about how this will connect through, likely north up to Glassboro in the future. That's separate from what we're talking about tonight, but it can be part of a bigger network, potentially. What we're looking at, our scope's pretty focused. We had 3 things that we're really focusing on. Keep people safe when they're crossing the road along the trail that's out there today. And we looked at all of Elephant Swamp Trail in general, but we really focused on Elk. 5-mile section that starts down at the ball fields down in Elmer, all through Upper Pittsgrove. They can come along for the ride. The concepts that we're talking about can be extrapolated to them, but we really focused on the area in Elk Township, 2.5-mile section from Rec Park down to the municipal border. So we've got one roadway crossing, okay, but that roadway crossing is a little tough for motorists to anticipate people coming across. Talk about that in a minute. Trail surface. Right now, it's varies a bit. Parts of it are double track, parts of it are single, but then there's lots of puddling. We talked about that a little bit before. I said that would come up again. And letting people know that the trail is there. You got beautiful wayfinding sign at the actual trailhead, but that's hidden a little bit from Whig Road. So we'll talk about each of those things. How this process works, somebody had an idea. Say, hey, you've got this great trail, but maybe it could be better. Shared the idea, got some support, got Sonia on board, helped put things together, and they reached out to DOT, and DOT has a very competitive process to get this work, and said, oh yeah, there's a spot where we want to help out. We think we can make things a little better. We will set Elk Township up with a planning document that will detail out what some of those concepts would be, and we'd have a meeting like we're having tonight. Wish it was in person, but we want to make sure the rough ideas that we're coming up with have some consensus. And if there's feedback about it, we want to document that. We certainly don't have to debate things, but we want to make sure you understand we're here to listen. We're doing this meeting so we can get input. That's why we're doing this stuff. If I was in front of you, I'll have my clipboard and jotting things down. We're recording this. Any input is going to be included and will be part of the record of this project. But all of this, it's just concept level. It's not final design by any means. Please don't think any changes are happening tomorrow. The end product of this step is usually used to go after funding. A lot of communities have used, Bill said, DOT's done like 80 of these plans. A lot of the municipalities we've worked with plans like this take these products and say, hey, look, we've got a really good application for dollars. If you decide you're gonna chase some money for some of the paint and signs that we're talking about, those are short dollars. But if you're gonna resurface trail, no matter what type, that's money. And a planning document like this shows that you've done outreach, that you've built consensus, and that you've done your homework. and that'll make it a little more competitive and probably put you ahead of your neighbors when chasing those dollars. So that's where we're at process-wise. So please don't think anything's happening tomorrow. Nothing's being rammed down anybody's throat, and we're here to listen. So, Reader's Digest, quick overview of what you guys probably know better than we possibly could in the little bit of time we've been looking at things. But we're looking at a couple, 2.5 miles of trail, existing trail that's out there. One thing that was interesting to me, it's really just 2 parcels. When you look at the tax map, the town owns the land, and that's huge. That's a big deal. We did our mapping with geographic information system lines that are available. I don't trust them. They're probably not exact. When we show you maps, or if you've gotten a preview of anything, know that it's not exact. It's not new survey. So things probably have to be tweaked if you're going to do any final engineering and actual detailed design work. What we are looking at is a couple of trail access points. Rec Park is a big deal. We'll talk about this in a minute, but there's over 200 parking spaces up there. That is a lot. If people driving along Elk Road, other major trailhead where there is a little parking lot, and we hear sometimes there's even an overflow there, given better wayfinding up to Rec Park, maybe there'll be less of an issue of that overflow that happens today. I'm stealing my own thunder. Here's a map of the portion that we're looking at. North is to the right here. Here's Rec Park. Here's Wig Lane. That park is through here. The trailhead is actually back there. And if and when this trail may get extended to the north, Glassboro's up that way to tie into the rest of the circuit. And Elmer is down this way, down by Rotary Field, by the ball fields down there. So this is really what we looked at. This is our focus for this evening. And this is what I was talking about with right-of-way. This is first concept. I'm going to go over an existing photo, a quick map, maybe a couple pictures, then we'll talk about concepts. This is the little trailhead along Elk Road. On the south side of the road, there's parking for a few cars. The trail really picks up at the south end of the parking lot. Trail users really share. They come out through this grassed area, cross the road, and to trail users, it looks like this photo up here on the top right. This is where it comes across. To motorists, this is what they see. There's not a whole lot of warning for motorists to know that a major trail is crossing at this location. Beautiful spot. Maybe there's a few things for very short dollars we could do to make that better anticipated. What I'm looking at here, and I think we've got a couple of residents here who live in the immediate area and maybe to the south. Please don't trust these green lines. I don't know, I don't have confidence that they're exact, but even if they push north a little bit, you know, this pushes up, maybe there's some overlap that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because let me show you what we came up with, and Kevin, please fill in as I miss things. But here's one way. Sure.
Can we go back a slide? It was just occurred to me that some people are on the phone, so we need to talk about where we're located and stuff like that, so we can have everyone oriented. So if you go one slide ahead to the roadway crossing. So yeah, here we are. We're looking at an aerial image of where the trail meets Elk Road, and it's right near Railroad Avenue there. So this trail crossing was a focal point of our planning work here, and we wanted to understand it from 2 perspectives. One perspective is that of the trail user. The other is that of the motorist driving down the road. So if I'm on the trail, say I started up at Rec Park and I'm traveling south on the trail, then as I approach Elk Road, what happens is I emerge from sort of a wooded area to an open area where the trail surfacing sort of evolves into some grass and lawn type of thing. And then I encounter the road, and there's no set area where I'm sort of I'm told I should cross. And then once I get across the road, I enter the drive aisle of the existing parking lot that's down there that has about a capacity of about 10 parking spaces. And as a bicyclist or pedestrian, I then have to move through this drive aisle to pick up the trail again just south of the parking lot. From the motor vehicle perspective, here I am traveling down Elk Road, and the speed limit is about 45. And there's no indication to me that I might encounter someone either on a bike or on the, pushing a stroller perhaps. That I don't know that there's going to be someone crossing there. So we kind of want to convey that message that, hey, you could encounter something. So Mike, if you move ahead one. So the crossing concept itself is pretty simple. For the motor vehicle, what we would propose is that advanced warning signs, which is, it's a diamond-shaped yellow sign with a bicyclist and a pedestrian on it. That gets installed about 150 feet ahead of the crosswalk in both directions on both approaches to where the trail intersects the road. And you can supplement that with some pavement markings also between 100 and 150 feet ahead of where a crosswalk would be installed. And then the other key element is that crosswalk itself. We would advise doing like a high visibility, retro reflective white crosswalk, just to make it apparent to the motorist that people are going to be here. From the trail user's perspective, that crosswalk sort of channelizes where you should be and formalizes it as, cross here. Don't go 10 feet up the road, or don't go up to the corner of Railroad Ave. It's not necessarily any safer up there. So Mike, if you could advance one slide. This one shows, and I know some of you aren't able to see this, but in addition to those advanced warning signs that happen 150 feet in front of the crosswalk, we would do either a warning sign or a warning beacon about 10 feet in front of the crosswalk in either approach. So a warning sign would be, a static sign. Again, it's a yellow diamond-shaped sign with a bicyclist and a pedestrian on it, and probably an arrow that points down and says they're going to cross here. The alternative to that is a flashing beacon, and typically these build off that same model of sign, except they can add in a solar-powered light that can be actuated with a push button by people crossing the trail. So, you could potentially have this flashing beacon that you only turn on when it's time to cross the road. And in my own personal experience, I live in Somerset County, and we have a county park, Colonial Park, and similar context to this, where a trail intersects the road. And they put in one of these a couple years ago, and it's really good. So simple improvements like that will sort of take the guesswork out of crossing for both motorists and for trail users.
I will say that one of our recommendations for if you're traveling from the north to the south, you're traveling next to Railroad Ave along the trail, you cross Elk Road, instead of traveling into that drive aisle that Kevin was pointing out a moment ago, we'd suggest a minor reconfiguration of the existing parking lot, that little trailhead that's on the south side of Elk Road, just so that the trail is continuous from the road, continues all the way along and continues on along the trail alignment. We could reconfigure that access to the parking lot area. There is a farm access road that I think is very unofficial that wouldn't necessarily have to be impacted. It could still, I'm just backing up one slide here, they could still pass through. that would be fine. That is something that when it gets final designed, assuming anything was going to change, that would just eliminate potential conflicts, allows the trail to carry straight through. It's a minor change, and whether there's a driveway access at the end of it that is permitted to continue or not, I don't see a problem with either way. That's absolutely something that isn't necessarily a deal stopper for having the trail be separate from the parking lot area. And that would go no matter what else the town may have in mind for the future, if needed. Wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So that's the first of 3 things that we're going to cover. That's the first big one. I'll pause here and ask if anybody's got any questions about that. So Nicole, if people are on the phone, I don't know how we're going to hear them. Do we risk unmuting all the way across because they can't raise their hands?
We can certainly try. Would you like to?
Okay. Let's not all, well, first, anybody who we can see. Anybody on a computer have a question first? So that's easy.
Nope.
Okay. I hope not 10 people all ask questions at the same time, but yeah, let's unmute and see how that goes.
All right. All right, you are all now unmuted. Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, hello, I do. My name's Dave Alexander.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
I've heard a lot of discussion about trail users and motorists, but I have not heard any consideration towards the residents that live right here. You're going to put this to where everybody walks across. You're going to put a flashing light that's going to be an annoyance to the people that live here. What about the quality of our life? And what are we paying taxes for? We're talking about trail users. What are we talking about residents?
So
I never hear nothing about residents.
So one of the things, Mr. Alexander, so this is Mike Dannemiller, we've talked. One of the things we're looking at, I imagine that safety of travelers through the area is what we're talking about. And when Kevin says flashing lights, the scale of these lights are 1 inch by 4 inches, and they're very focused, and they would not be angled towards, and I see where your house is.
Okay,
it's a lovely spot.
I understand.
I don't think it would even be visible from on your property. So we're not talking about strobe lights that are going to keep you up at night by any means. And as Kevin was pointing out, it'd be motion actuated. So it'd only be there when someone is actively trying to cross the road. So I don't think we're acting.
Sir, I do understand that, but my concern is I live right on the corner of Railroad Avenue, right across. I am the one that is mostly affected by this trail. I get the headlights from the parking lot. I get the people screaming at me because I take pictures of them all parking incorrectly. I'm the guy that calls the police. I'm the guy that the police tells I'm a pain in the butt because of this, because I am trying to make it safe. You know, every resident that's lived along here all the way up to Mr. Goss has been robbed since that trail has opened. Nobody seems to care about that. It's funny to you because you don't live here. We live here. Now, I have a petition of 31 residents that live right here does not want this to continue, does not want this to happen. I have seen your blueprints with the parking lot idea, the portalet, the bicycle repair station. I have seen your prints.
Excellent.
And nobody wants it.
So
you have all the room.
Let's break this down into a couple of pieces. I'm sorry, I believe I interrupted you. I'm sorry for that. And I don't want to gloss over anything, and that's why I was breaking things down into a couple of pieces. And as you and I talked about last week, one of the things that I thought we definitely had common ground on was there's an existing trail.
We came to common ground on a crosswalk.
Well, that's the only part
I
we've talked
understand
about
that.
thus far.
I
And
asked about a crosswalk 6 years ago when I worked for the township and was told,
Excellent.
no, we can't spend that money.
Well, I'm glad we have common ground. I'm glad we agree on something. And out of the 3 things we're going to talk about, and then anything global, I'm glad that this first one is one that sounds like we're on the same page. Short dollars,
Yes,
paint and
I
signs.
agree 100%.
Excellent.
Like I said, I live here. There's accidents out here all the time. I don't want to see nobody get hit.
Great.
I mean, I've already got cars up in my yard now from people pulling out in front of other people.
So as a civil engineer, as a traffic guy, how we try and resolve that is, not surprise people, make it predictable. And if there's a spot we know people are going to cross the road, let's make it safe for those chickens to get across the road, and let motorists know, and let the motorist behind that motorist know why they might be hitting their brakes. So, and that's why there's those warning signs. So that
I hope you can tell the Philadelphia people to come down here through the summer that ain't doing 45, they're doing 65 and 70. I hope you can tell them that.
Yeah. I think we had another hand up. Deborah?
Yes. Hello, I live on Railroad Avenue. Neighbors with Mr. Alexander, and we certainly enjoy the trail, and I look out now that I do a lot of remote working. I look at the trail and the folks walking their dogs. I will tell you, I was walking later this afternoon. There were 9-10 cars in the parking lot, and that's an off day. I'm looking at another 10 you're putting in on the other side. It's 20. It's 20. That other parking lot, folks, I promise you, you will have more accidents than it's not a good idea. And I'm tolerant. I enjoy, excuse me, I enjoy the visits, the folks walking. That's not, yes, I have been robbed, probably access through the trail. But at the same time, I do we enjoy our country living. I'm well aware of your task here, but I really recommend 538 Elk Road, and I think everyone on this meeting knows firsthand how dangerous Elk Road is, and the little lights are helpful, and I do think that they will be welcomed, but we cannot tolerate 10 more parking spots when we have a beautiful municipal building that needs to be utilizing the signs down there and so on and so forth. I see that this is in the planning stage by the DOT, correct? So the scope of the project, I think you're working on, and I'm sure that's to possibly get a grant, because it doesn't sound like the project's funded. Am I correct on that?
So Deborah, a couple of things there. I haven't mentioned anything about what the town is considering maybe down the road, and and for those on the phone, there is in pink an additional parking lot that kind of mirrors the one that's existing. We haven't talked about that yet. I haven't addressed that as an issue yet. Really, it's separate from our project. The mayor can talk about that at the end, if I could table that just for a moment. But one of the other concepts we're going to talk about is wayfinding. And I know the town has additional wayfinding funded through DVRPC, more stuff that's going on, but putting good information, and I'm going to jump ahead here, good information about the 260 parking spots available a mile to the north up at Rec Park. Having information about that might help to alleviate this overflowing parking that's happening right here.
Correct.
Hey, Mike, this is Donna. Can I, Debbie, I was muted, so I wanted to just, so Debbie, I just want to understand, so your issue is with the additional parking on the railroad?
Yeah. Donna, I will tell you, unfortunately, especially on the weekends and the beautiful weather, and it's been blasted by a few news medias letting them know about Elephant Swamp Trail, and it is beautiful, and we enjoy it, and I'm grateful to live here. Donna, it is extremely hazardous trying to make that left coming out of Railroad Avenue, make a left heading towards Franklin, because the cars are really bulked up there, and of course we spend a lot of safety dollars with our police having to get called down there because they even park in front of my home, blocking the entrance to the fields. And we've had that numerous times this past 6 months, 9 months. And unfortunately, that's required, again, some of our police attendance. And that's not our goal. I think we have a beautiful municipal parking lot. The goal is to walk. If our object is walking, it will not hurt us to walk from our municipal building, the soccer fields and so on. I'd like to see us, if we're in the planning stages, to enhance the trail, clean it up a little bit. There's some trees and that sort of thing, but that parking lot has us scared.
Okay.
And I need you to know that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's the whole,
Donna,
that's the whole point of this.
It scares everyone in our family. Donna, everyone in our family, and they're on, are worried about that second, as well as my neighbors. That's key.
And that's,
I'm not. Yep.
That's the point of this whole discussion. That's what Mike's. All of this is concept. There's nothing. There's no final designs on it.
I know that.
So that's the point of this whole meeting is to put out our concepts and get input. That's the community outreach portion of it. So that's why, we want to hear, that's the whole point we're having this meeting. We want to have a civil discussion. We want to hear your concerns. And just so you know, any final design on that road has to be approved by the county because it's a county road. So, you know what I mean? So keep that in your mind. All right. So, all right, Mike,
Okay, great. So that's 1 out of 3. And if you can bear with me, I'd like to go through the other 2 portions. And we were talking crossings, trail surface, and wayfinding. If I can jump forward to trail surface, I think this is an easy one. Let's just take a moment. When we look at the trail, the portion to the north is generally 6 to 8 feet wide. It kind of looks like this. To the south, it's a little skinnier, and there's several spots where there's ponding. There's a whole bunch of spots that puddle. And if we do nothing else, we're putting together a concept to say, okay, let's take care of the drainage, the isolated little pockets where it gets muddy. After it rains, it stays wet for a while because it is an old railroad corridor. It doesn't percolate real well. So when we're looking at that, there's a bunch of options, and sure, the sky's the limit. You could just fix the little muddy spots. You could do a similar kind of surface the whole way. You could do something that's set up a granulated compact aggregate with a binder, and I'll show some pictures about that in just a minute. Or if you really want to, you could pave this thing. I don't think that's the look and feel that most people probably want. I'm just putting it out there to get a reaction. My expectation is I'm going to see more shaking heads, like I'm seeing at least one person right now saying, no way, don't pave that thing. But I'd rather ask the question than make an assumption. At the end of this, we have a visual preference survey that we could run through real quickly and ask people to, if you can click on a link and say which things you like, which things you don't like, that'd be great. I'm trying to, Kevin, I'm brainstorming right now because most people are on the phone. If we got a thumbs up, thumbs down for paved or not paved. I'm afraid if we unmute everybody and well, I don't know. I'm just looking at just the couple of folks that I see. I'm brainstorming here, so please work with me. If we unmute for a moment and say, hey, would everyone agree that you don't want a hard pavement, not whether it's porous or not? Would people generally say, hey, don't pave this thing? You continue to have some kind of crushed stone, compact aggregate kind of trail. Is that what we're looking at? I'm seeing a couple of people chime in, keep unpaved, keep it unpaved. Nicole, let's try this again just for a moment. And just if anybody really wants it paved, please let us know that. because otherwise we're going to assume that we're working with a non-paved surface. Nicole, you want to let everybody open for just a moment, and just
Sure.
let us know if somebody really wants it paved.
I'm seeing a lot of chat box comments coming through.
A, B, and
And
C, which are
for those
existing.
of you, okay, we have everyone unmuted, which
No.
is very dangerous.
Yeah, anybody really want pavement?
Real quick question. It's what, 2.5 miles? Maybe, and I think people would help understand if they knew the cost, because unpaving and maintaining, I think, also fits the area, but some of these costs could be quite, it's not a one and done deal. They're going to have to be maintained.
Sure. And yeah, there's a bunch of weird echoey background noise. Let's mute everybody again. Anya, can we unmute Anya Soretsky from Rails to Trails? There were 2 tidbits I was hoping. Let's hold off about the crime stuff to the end. But we've seen costs for paved trails as roughly $1 million a mile, but you already have a trail. Most of that cost is drainage and grading and a whole lot. Anya, do you have an insight that you'd throw out as a general rule of thumb on just the resurfacing portion?
Sure. So the resurfacing to do a paved trail, it would be more expensive up front, but the maintenance costs are low because it would last longer. The option B or option C, that would be less expensive up front, but there might be more maintenance because you might have to replace some of those surfaces. And I have more exact numbers that I could share with everyone, but I don't have those numbers in front of me. So that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Even with the
Construction of
paved
new
option, eventually you would have to replace that, and then that would be another larger expense.
Sure. So that's significantly more dollars. If you go porous, you don't have to worry about drainage along it, but you do have to vac it. I mean, there's a lot of baggage that comes with paving a trail. And if it were new construction on a new trail, it's certainly not unheard of to be $1 million a mile. Kevin, you have any other input that you'd throw out just as rough ballpark stuff?
Yeah, well, we do have some rough estimating numbers. You could say that it might be like $50 a square yard for aggregate and double that to go pave it. And what we're going to do is sort of document these order of magnitude numbers in our report. And one of the products we're working on is this matrix, because this is a tougher decision than we can make in a 1-hour webinar. It's a township decision that's going to require good community consensus. And what we're trying to provide is just the things that you can consider. What the materials are made of, where they might come from, how, and we would ask residents of the township, and we have this survey that Mike will get into in a little while, just to ask them to react to it from a look and feel perspective. And then we'll fill in the blanks on cost, ADA considerations, maintenance, things like that. And the goal is to give you a tool to help with decision making.
Sure. Okay. So I think that covers as much detail as we're going to about trail for right now. So let me jump to number 3. Third big item, we said crossings, surface, and trail access. And what we were talking about, hey, there's 2 major access points. And I think, I'm excited for people to take a look at this. We'll try and describe it. And Kevin, thank you for reminding me. Most people are on the phone. But the 2 access points, sure, Elk Road, we've talked about that a little bit. But off of Wig Lane, Rec Park. And Rec Park is a big park. It covers a lot of ground. There's multiple parking lots. The first one out by Wig Lane has got over 50 cars, capacity for over 50 cars. And then the one in the middle next to the baseball diamond, there's another 100 there. And then on the south side, the far side of the parking lot, from the baseball diamond. There's another about 60 or so. And then if you know to keep going and go through the park and all the way down to where the trailhead actually is, and there's about another 30 cars or so that'll fit there. So we are talking in total, about 250 cars can park at Rec Park amongst these 4 different locations. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. And what I absolutely love the trailhead sign. I think it was, forgive me, I thought it was Girl Scouts who had helped out, but Environmental Commission, I believe, put together a beautiful hand-carved, lovely trailhead sign. If people know to go wander through all of that Rec Park to get to it. What we'd recommend is, well, at first, get something out at Wig Lane that says, hey, there's this beautiful trail, Elephant Swamp Trail, you've heard of it? This is how you get to it. It's not only accessible from Elk Road. And then, so that's one thing. Put some wayfinding signs, information signs, which could be added to the park entrance sign out on Wig Lane. And then there could just be, yes, keep going. Yes, if you haven't been here before, it's back there. Keep on heading through the park and you're going to get to it. But if we really want to talk the big picture idea, and for those who are on a computer, you can see that could just be another panel underneath that really nice sign. Is probably about a 4 by 8 foot, 4 foot high, 8 foot wide, roughly, sign that you've got that says Elk Township Recreation Park. You put a little panel under it that says Elephant Swamp Trail, go this way. That could work nicely. And for those who can see it, what we'd suggest is where you've got the trailhead right now, if you could bring that up closer to where the ball field is, to where the more parking is and more people would see it. If it's not the hidden gem secret that only locals are ever going to know about, or even you want to let people who are using your rec park know about the trail, you could move that wayfinding sign north just a little bit. And if you actually do get some dollars from others and you have the money to play with, maybe you could extend the trail next to that driveway, the park roadway. You could continue to share, that would be fine, but if you really want a uninterrupted trail experience along the way, you could build trail next to the drive aisle of the park circulating roadway. That's the image that we're showing there. Kevin, anything we should expand on that one?
Just that, things like the existing sign by the Girl Scouts could simply be relocated. There's space adjacent to that parking lot, for any amenities you would care to provide, be it a bench or, when Mike and I were out there over the summer, we saw portalettes. So I assume that those are provided in the park. We're just saying, here's a position where they could go just to organize things.
Sure. And somebody had mentioned the portalettes before is not a great idea along the trail. I think that you saw them because we were only including them because of they're already out there in the park. And if you're going to have them in the park, maybe you put them in the park near the trail. Is that on target, Kevin?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Okay. So nobody's talking about putting a portalette in front of somebody's house. That is not something we're recommending. I'm beating ourselves over the head just to make sure that's really clear. And it could have easily been confused. You see a trail that goes through a whole town, you might think, oh, those amenities we were talking about could have gone anywhere. We were talking about, just focusing things within that large rec park at the north end of the project. Okay. So I'm just going to take a look at the chat. Correct, Girl Scouts, thank you. That sign, I knew we didn't do it. It's a really nice sign. I'd love for people to see it and for it to, share information about this is where that trail is. So with that, let me jump to other things about getting opinions. Environmental Commission, I think, has done a beautiful job with these interpretive signs. I think the benches as well. There's clearly a conscious decision about, okay, we're going to put some garbage, trash receptacles, waste, pest waste receptacles out there. It doesn't have to be. It could be a camp in, camp out, carry in, carry out kind of situation. If maintenance is an issue, you put a garbage can out there, people are going to use it and people are going to miss it. You guys know your local dynamic and culture of what works and doesn't work. What we have set up to ask for more input is this visual preference survey. I'm just doing a reality check. It's about 7:50. I'd love to save the next 10 minutes for people to be able to ask questions. Afterwards, if you want to run through this, I could really quickly show you what we have in this visual preference survey. We click on this link. This was also on the flyer that got circulated around. I'm just going to change my window. Bear with me for a second. Hey, now that's always fun to have happen while people are watching. There we go. That comes to this survey. Survey asks a couple of questions about who you are, where you come from, what type of use do you do along the trail. Then the heart of this survey is, and the images that I'm showing. There's an existing picture of of Elephant Swamp Trail with and we're calling it compacted earth, aggregate, existing. We want to just keep that kind of surface, or then we have 3 other pictures. One's, we're calling it compacted aggregate, which is just a little firmer surface, certainly not double track with grass down the middle. We're one that's a little even more solid. You put a binder mix, so that way even on a wet day, if you're riding on it in a skinny tire bike, you're not going to leave a dent. If anybody's ever been up along the Delaware for the DNR Canal towpath, they have a compacted aggregate with a binder. Has just a little bit of a clay mix in it, and it sets up pretty hard. Or we have a photo of a porous asphalt trail. And then there's just stars underneath it. And you can say, oh, I like this one. I don't like that one. That one gets 1 star or no stars. This other one gets 5 stars. That's how this survey works. We've got that about trail surface. We've got that about gates. The existing gate that you have goes across the whole trail, and then you kind of have to scoot around the outside of it, which that part erodes away a little bit. You could put up gates that only stick across half of the trail. That'll stop a car from driving down the trail, but not stop people from accessing the trail on the trail surface. So you don't have to wiggle around it. Yes, please.
Where could people find the survey if they're on the phone and don't have access to their computer right now?
Oh, sure. Donna, I think you set up that the flyer for the meeting tonight, which included a link to that survey, is on the front page of the Elk Township website. I think that's what we saw. I saw a few days ago. Is that still up? You unmute Donna.
Donna says, yes, it is.
Okay, so Elk Township website, main page, the flyer for the meeting tonight has a link to this survey that we're looking at. Thank you, Bill.
And we said we're leaving this up till January 31st. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll keep this up for the next 2 weeks, a little more, till the end of the month.
And really, it makes the report that much stronger. Like if we could get as many as people as possible in Elk to fill this out, we, it helps the town as well to know what people like and what people don't like, and it makes the report that much stronger. And if there's a lot of input and gives, in the end, we're going to provide a planning document to the town, but it's ultimately up to the town to decide what they're going to implement, what they're going to prioritize, and the more public input there is, the easier it is for the people in the town to decide what it is that the majority wants. So, tell your friends, pass it around, and let's get a lot of input on this because it's really all positive.
Excellent, thanks. So that's the quick version. The other images, I'll just wrap up with. There's a 55-gallon drum kind of garbage can. There's the cute little garbage can with the dog waste bags, or there's those fancy solar powered. I think they're Kevin. It's got the word belly. um, big belly garbage cans. They're self-compacting. It's solar powered, it squishes, and you can put recyclable ones next to regular trash and such. Or you can just put up a sign that says carry in, carry out. That's another thing we're asking for input on. And the last one would be benches. I mean, you've clearly made a decision of the concrete base and wooden bottom, a seating portion and a backrest. There's other versions of benches. We threw up images of a couple, just say, hey, what do you like? And maybe you want to stick with exactly what you have, and that's a good thing to know. And we just have a few images for people to take a look at that. And sorry, I forgot. There's also 4 options on guide rail, because there is one spot where there's a significant stream crossing. There's some elevation, and that spot you're probably going to want to put up or enhance some kind of guide rail railing type of treatment. And we threw up a couple of options just to see what people like. Excuse me, Kevin, sorry. And you had mile markers, same kind of thing. So with that, let me bring back up our regular show. There's that. And okay, Anya, I'm going to ask you to share a tidbit. I had heard you on one of the economic development webinars we did together recently. You had a tidbit about crime and incidents of crime and trails relative to neighboring neighborhoods in the surrounding area. Could we unmute Anya?
Sure, I think I'm unmuted. Hi, everyone. I'm Anya Soretsky. I'm with Rails to Trails Conservancy. So a number of studies have been conducted looking at crime rates and trails. And overall, all these studies show that trails do not attract crime. Usually the crime rate on the trail is equal to the crime rate in the surrounding community. And in some cases, a trail can actually result in a decrease in crime. And that's probably because you have people using a space that might not otherwise be used. It's a way to build community, meet your neighbors, things like that. So you're getting positive use rather than negative use. And the most recent report that I've seen is from 2019, and that is from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is in the general area, and that found the same thing, that the crime rates in the town are similar to the crime rates surrounding the trail. So if you have a town with low crime rates, you're going to see low crime rates on the trail, generally speaking.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing a national perspective on trails in general and what statistics have shown in other places. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
If there's other hard data, police reports and such, anecdotes about that, Donna, Carolyn, please share that. We can include that and make sure that anything that's documented, we can quantify and say, here's what's going on. My personal experience on the 20 years of working on trails is they tend to be self-policing. Corridors where you don't expect to see too many people on, that's where you get vandalism, where you expect there's going to be some level of use, not as much nefarious activity goes on, where people never know when somebody might be jogging along. One of the times I was out here, one of the local pediatricians was out for a jog. It's like, hey, what's going on? Well, what's happening here? Oh, glad to see somebody's going to do something about these road crossings, which was nice hearing from a doctor. Anyway, that's our big picture.
Hey, Mike, Nicole just unmuted me. The one thing I would say, and Karen, can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any crime associated with the trail. I've been out there. I've walked there a lot, but the one thing, and Bob Clark and Frank Goss can confirm this, that the issues we have, and somebody actually did notice, it is a rural town and we have hunters. You'll go down the trail and you can see tree stands on the side. So you probably have more of a hazard from potential hunters, but even that, I've never, since I've lived here, had anybody have any kind of a hunting accident on the trail, to my knowledge. The one thing we have is ATVs and motorized vehicles. And that's our probably biggest thing on the trail. You know, we have signage up. We try to have the gates and the barricades. But I would say our biggest thing on the trail is having ATVs come down where you're taking a walk and they come up behind you.
Sure. And three-wheelers, you can kind of design to discourage them, but just dirt bikes, motorcycles, that comes down to an enforcement issue, because it's almost impossible to design out access for a dirt bike. You can make it really difficult to access, but then it's difficult for everyone to access, much like the images of the gates that we were showing earlier.
Right, and we had talked about earlier, right now, our trail on the south side, on the Elmer side, that doesn't have any kind of a gate. So, you know, we have a lot of ATVs come from that end. You know, so that would probably be another discussion point, is do we want to separate our portion of the trail from the other portion of the trail. You know, we've discussed that with the Environmental Commission for several years now, because, you know, we have no control over ATVs coming from that other end.
Sure. And I'd like to open this up to Sonia and or John Boyle to speak to that issue on the larger Circuit Trail network. Is there anything you'd like to share on how that's dealt with on other regional trails throughout the region? Sonia, I'm going to call on you first.
And John had put into the chat box as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, John just added the information, so I'll let him talk about it.
So we, thank you, Carolyn, for that. So do we want to talk about, are we talking about ATV use, or are we talking about the upcoming circuit trails? What do you want me to focus on?
First, about ATVs on other circuit trails. How does Circuit Trails Network deal with ATVs?
It's patrolling and gates, and really it is, the more users you have, the more legitimate users you have, the fewer illegal users you will have. I think it's as simple as that. And having some gates that discourage ATVs is a real good way to sort of signal that, you know, the ATVs aren't welcome here. Also, if you improve, the more you improve the trail surface, the less likely that it's going to be appealing to them. So, you know, thinking of like the binding aggregate, the aggregate with the binder, you know, that's a nice surface to roll on, as I put in the chat already. Pennsylvania uses it pretty extensively. New Jersey, not so much. There are a few exceptions, like Mike was talking about the DNR canal, but generally we find that trail developers use like the looser surfaces, and it tends to erode really quickly. And if there's water runoff, whatever, it tends to, you know, degrade the trail surface to even worse than the compacted earth. So that's just a thought on that. Regarding the upcoming meeting for the Circuit Trails. So Circuit Trails is a 800-mile network of planned trails throughout the 9-county Philadelphia region, and that includes Bucks, Mercer, Burlington, Camden, down to Gloucester, and then over into the counties in Pennsylvania. The Elephant Swamp Trail is one of the trails that is will not only connect the Circuit Trails network, but could connect to a future trail network into Cumberland and Salem counties. And I know that the people down there are working on creating a regional trail network in that region too. So the Elephant Swamp Trail is kind of like a linchpin to connect this whole trail network. The issue that we have is that the county has $2 million to build a connecting trail between the municipal building and the Monroe Township bike path and into Glassboro. They've had that money available for about 6 years now, and they haven't moved on it. And you know, we've been asking what is going on. You know, we really haven't gotten any traction from the county. So the idea is that we want to organize Gloucester County residents, especially in Elk Township, to work with and lobby the county to ensure that they move this project forward. They have $2 million that's waiting for them to be spent. We don't know why this project hasn't moved forward. So on February 3rd, we are having a Zoom meeting. I put the link in the chat, and Sonia and I will be hosting that meeting, and we will be talking about that issue and also talk about the Circuit Trails Network in general, and how we can organize to make sure that we have 800 miles of trails built, and we want 500 miles on the ground by 2025. So we need another 180 miles. We have 320, 340, something like that. So can we build that many miles of trails in the region in 5 years? And that's about 20 miles a county. So that's the goal.
So, John, wow, that's awesome. That is a whole lot more than I thought we were going to jump into. I'm glad to give you the opportunity to share that. But everyone who's giving comments on this project, please don't say, oh, stop this project, which is about crossings, trail surface, and wayfinding for our little segment of the existing Elephant Swamp Trail. If you love or hate the other stuff that John just talked about, please don't blame or credit this project, okay?
Thanks, Mike, for throwing me under the bus there.
I'm thrilled to support that, and I hope to be on board with you. I think there's some really good things going on there, but wow, that was a whole lot more than I thought we were jumping in on. Cool, exciting, and probably big on the economic development side. You know, people who are hungry and thirsty and want to stop and buy a sandwich and such, travel with a wallet. You know, hopefully, you know, there's opportunity there for each of the communities that these larger trails come through. That's a perspective that often people don't think about. So, okay, there's going to be people from out of town rolling through, but hopefully they're also bringing some dollars into your town. Sonia, anything else we missed there?
No, I don't think so. I think John covered everything. There's also a Facebook page called Friends of the Elephant Swamp Trail where we've been sharing these public meetings and stuff. So if you're not on there, you can also follow it. I'll put the name in the chat.
Great, thanks. I'm going to look at the chat first to see if there's any other outstanding questions. Old train track by Stanger. I'm out of context. I'm not sure what that was referring to.
You know, Mike, just to jump in here.
Please.
Really, to me, this project's about, I mean, Elephant Swamp Trail is just a great resource for Elk Township, and this is just a way of trying to make it better. And I credit Elk Township for coming in, applying for this study, and from the state, our hope is that you'll really be able to use this study to, you know, move the trail forward and make it an even greater resource for the residents in the region. And it's just a great thing, and we hope to make it even better. So that's where DOT is coming from.
Excellent, thank you. Kevin, anything else we should throw out there?
No, I think we covered everything, and just to go back to Bill's earlier point about how important it is for everyone to fill out the survey, just as a way for us to, and for the town to hear everyone. Please do make sure you do so.
Excuse me. Question?
Deborah?
Yes,
Are we ready for questions now?
no, my mistake.
Okay, no, it's fine.
I respect the survey, but I have a few questions prior to me completing the survey. At this point, DOT, we got this project and your costs are covered via, it sounds like, a planning process through a grant through DOT. The cost to fund, and of course you have listed surfaces and so on and so forth as part of the survey. We know that at least it's going to cost, upscale trail is $1 million a mile, put a few in. So at this point, I mean, a lot of folks may want a lot. Are there grants out there available? And is that the goal if we were to move on a more elaborate processes, besides the obvious things like adding signs and the crosswalks? That's great stuff that we can handle. And, you know, if we want additional benches, what have you, the community can certainly understand that. But give me some insight as to what we're doing, the survey, but I don't think I know the scope and the magnitude that it may cost the residents of Elk Township overall, and if there is a grant available, and that's the goal, to even see if we can even get funding for it.
Hi, if I can, this is Mayor Salmon. So what we've been trying to do through our engineers, through NJDOT, through even DEP, through whatever we can, TDCI, is to try to find grants that will not impact our residents per se, to try and get something done to do any type of improvements to the trail. So that's what we've been trying to do for quite some time now. So I don't know, Stan, if you wanted to say anything with regards to any grants that we've been trying to obtain, or Donna, if you had anything you wanted to say with regards to that. But we have been working very hard. Environmental Commission is an awesome commission. You sound like you would be awesome to come on there. What do you think? Well, no, I can see you. Wait, put my camera back.
Oh God, I'm busy, but I do appreciate. I love looking out. Look, I'm looking out at the trail right now as we speak. It is dark, but I am looking at the trail.
We would love to have you. Seriously, you would be an asset. You have great ideas. You're not afraid to jump in. Really reach out to Donna and get on the commission. They're a wonderful organization. They do great things for this town, and you would be an asset.
Well, thank you very much. But you understand that oftentimes, folks, when we put out a survey, in my experience, people are really going to want great stuff. And there's, you know, and maybe what we have is already working for us. And I see the participation, like I said, out my window. They are, and by the way, I have been robbed, and I'm pretty sure it was access to the trail, but I'm still happy that people walk on the trail. So, like I said, I know that trail, what are we saying, 2.5 miles, you know, it's going to be 2.5, 3 million. Is that, I'm not sure that's what we need, but I do think crosswalks and trash cans.
Crosswalk improvements, get rid of the watered holes. Those things are a huge plus.
Yeah. And this end is not as wide. It is, and with the increase, and yes, we do have a lot more folks walking. It should be cleaned up a little bit more down here. Some of the trees and that sort of thing are protruding out wider than they are down the other end and so on.
And then we all have to remember that at the end of the day, Elk needs to have some type of draw to Elk Township. And if it's this wonderful natural walking path called Elephant Swamp with a cute little history that we could like tag into it and publicize, it makes us a little gem. It really does. It makes our community a gem.
Agree. Absolutely. I just had some concerns about a survey that I'm not sure if that's the anticipated, the trails that, circuit trails, what type of trails that they anticipate on this 40 or 50 or 80 mile trail, what type of trails they like may not be something we can possibly afford in,
Right.
you know,
Hey, Debbie, can you hear me?
yes.
Am I-
Hi, John.
Okay,
Hi.
sorry. I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of perspective because Donna Weiss is on the phone and Frank Goss. We actually started the whole renovation rebirth of the trail, oh God, over a decade ago through a grant.
That's
Okay,
right.
so we went and we got a grant. We had a lot of volunteer hours. We used the money we got to resurface the parking area, put in the fencing and the benches and such like that. To Carolyn's point, and I actually mentioned it to Mike and the others on this plan, my fear was we do a survey and we give the same thing, Deb. Oh yeah, I want the asphalt, I want the best gate, I want, you know, the Cadillac. We are doing everything we can to improve the trail at the least impact financially to the residents of Elk Township. So
Yep, I agree.
So the survey, to your point, yeah, just because maybe the majority, say we get 20 people and they want asphalt, if we can't afford it, we're not going to just put in an asphalt and raise taxes. That's not the goal. The goal is to enhance it so that it's better for everyone to use. It's safer, and utilize the grants that are out there and available. So that's the goal. And to Carolyn's point, you know, if you can't be on the commission, we appreciate just any support. You know, our little group, Frank Goss and Bob, you know, they clean up the trail. They
and they do. Yes,
you know,
yes,
they get the branches off and things like that. So, you know, it's a little group of us that we're trying to do, and this is it's really just going to be an improvement. And this is a concept, and then we're going to take the concept, and if we can then get dollars to do a design, and then get more dollars to actually implement, that's the train we're driving right now.
Sounds good, Donna. Sounds good. You understand the concerns.
We appreciate it, and that's why we did this, you know, because we want to hear from everybody. Yeah. We don't want to do anything in a vacuum, but we just want to put everything out there for the public. And I did want to say, anybody, I will post this link again on the website, but if anybody who's looking at the screen, there's a little barcode. If you take a picture of that with your cell phone, it takes you right to the link of the survey. If you have a smartphone, if you take a picture of that little box right there, I already did it. It takes you right to the survey. I love technology.
So do I.
I don't have anything else, Mike, so I don't know if we're wrapped up or if anybody else has more questions.
And Donna, one last thing, or in the committee, thank you for hearing us about the parking lot. It makes us feel better. I know you heard us. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike, should we see if there are any additional questions, or
Absolutely.
should we invite people to email you questions?
So after the fact, of course, you can always, and my contact info is on that flyer. Both my telephone number at my desk and my email are available anytime. It's roughly a dozen people on the phone. Hopefully we're not all going to yell over each other, but why don't we open it up to see if anybody else has other questions before we wrap up. I see Cassidy.
Cassidy is waving.
But you're on mute. You might have done that yourself.
Yeah, go ahead and unmute, Cassidy. Yes,
Can you hear
go
me?
ahead.
So my name is actually Melissa Birch. I'm just using my sister's phone. So my grandma lives right on the corner of Railroad Avenue, Edith Murphy. And, you know, this new parking lot that you're planning on, you know, considering putting in is going to go right at the corner of her driveway. My issue is, you know, you have all of the parking spots available down at the recreation park, and this is considered a walking trail. So instead of building a new parking lot, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to, use the existing parking lot that you already have, and then use that other money to maybe, fund the trail as far as taking care of it. I guess I just don't see the point in putting another parking lot in.
Is she on the corner of Railroad and
Railroad Avenue on the left-hand side. If you're coming up Railroad Avenue or on the left hand.
If you look at our survey, I mean, we did have our engineers go out there, and Stan is on the line. If you look at the survey, I don't know if you can blow that up a little bit, but her driveway actually is
which we're aware of. My point being is, instead of, putting another parking lot there, I don't see why you wouldn't you want people to park down further and then walk up? Isn't the purpose of the trail to walk?
Okay.
Got nothing?
It was just something that we looked at to decide, because of all the overflow. We were getting complaints from people on Railroad Avenue that, oh, they're parking on Railroad Avenue, parking in front of my house, parking on that property. So we were like, well, let's look at it and see if we can make something better for people to.
And I understand that. And I do understand that. But, I'm out there at night, at the middle of the night. You guys aren't. I see people coming in and out of that parking lot 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Now, they're not walking the trail. So what else are they doing? This is that's the part of this whole trail that everybody in the township has an issue with, at least the people that live close by to it. Because, yeah, okay, it's great. You want to walk it during the day. That's wonderful. But at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, what else are you doing on that trail?
Well, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, at least they're visible to the police if they're driving down 538 and they can see what's happening. If they're parking in the back of where the soccer fields are, you can't see anything. Our police aren't necessarily monitoring that 24/7.
They're also not monitoring over there either.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? We've certainly heard that issue. We got it. We've documented that well. Anyone else want to chime in?
What we can do is go down the list and see who is calling in.
Please.
I just unmuted my phone. Hold on.
We heard whoever that was.
That was James, I think.
How do I talk in this? Hello?
James, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
I'm listening to the whole thing, and I support the trail, okay? But if you think the police, and I was a police officer for 25 years, have more control what goes on 538 in that little parking lot than they do a whole area right behind their police station, you have to be kidding me with that. That is just going to open up a whole area where short traffic and everybody else is going to be out there 10, 11 at night. God knows doing what. I had a parking lot in front of my house that turned into a problem. And I live on 530. I'm so sorry. I'm talking too fast. I know that. But we can't control on 538. And the police, I know they have too much to do to patrol that area. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry. God.
All right. Thank you for your feedback.
This is Diane Bacher.
Go ahead, Diane. You're up next.
Yeah. Hi. I'm on that trail at least 4 or 5 times a week. Yes, coming out of that parking lot and making a left, it is quite dangerous. But I also another issue with it's not an issue. People don't know how to get to the recreation center. There's not an address that they can type into GPS for them to go find it, because I'm trying to get my girls to go over there to start running there. And they're constantly, where is it? And I think having some kind of specific address for them to type in would help them find the baseball fields.
And that's why
That's it.
that's why I asked that question, that little barcode or the QR code. Like if you're running up there, I don't know, running and stopping and taking a picture with your phone, you know, if you could do that, and it will point you to that direction. So that was one of my little responses back earlier in the chat box, that if we could have something like that on signs and it will point you to where you need to be. Or parking, overflow parking can be over at the soccer fields. That was
Yeah, and I think, Carolyn, we redid the trail guide about 3 years ago. We need to update it, but we actually did add to the trail guide the actual parking in the soccer rec area, because it originally was not in the trail guide. So I don't know if it has an address. I don't have it right now with me, but we need to update that also at a minimum. So if we don't have a street address, that would be something we would add. I know we have a map in the trail guide that shows that additional parking. So.
And so, folks, I mentioned briefly earlier, Elk Township did get a grant from DVRPC to do a wayfinding program around town. Again, that's well beyond the scope of the little scope of this project, which is just Elephant Swamp Trail crossings, surface, wayfinding, meaning trailhead signage kind of stuff. But wayfinding through the town, I think there's a whole nother project that is, Donna, you probably know better than I do. What's the status of that? And can that cover these kind of issues?
I think we should divert that Stan, shouldn't we, Don?
Yeah, I think we should, but can we not, maybe we should have a separate, but Stan can give us an update, but I don't want to get off topic.
Thanks. I'm just saying there's something else that's going to cover that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to unmute Stan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Good evening. A couple things. The DVRPC grant that we have is primarily to study ways that the town can improve pedestrian and bicycle and alternative modes of transportation. It's township wide. It's to, again, perform a study somewhat similar to what we're looking at this evening, so that the governing body and the community can focus their efforts in the future toward projects that might widely benefit the public in terms of sidewalks, crossings, safer crossings, and other transportation methods. Also, the township applied for 2 other grants, one to DVRPC for design funding for any improvements that the committee does feel ultimately or should be pursued for the Elephant Swamp. The other is for full construction and design and permitting to NJDOT for the same area. So if either of those projects gets granted, the work that's been done here will be used as a starting point for the design work to go forward, obviously incorporating our comments that we've received tonight. And lastly, I understand the county has put forward their bikeway project from Delsey Drive to the rec fields to the point where they've made soil erosion and soil conservation application with some hundreds of plan sheets. So it's been quiet. We haven't heard much, but that's where I believe they're getting ready for construction.
Oh, thank you for that good news, Stan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. I think we went through just about everyone. I'm going to see who else is here. We have Edith. Is Edith there? Would you like to say something? Oh, I've got a hand up. Donna, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I think that was from before. I think I'm good.
Hold on, Donna. Donna, your audio is all warped, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we couldn't understand that at all.
Hey, Donna, if you want to just put your question in the chat box, that might be.
Yeah, try the chat box. And anyone else with a question before we get closer to wrapping up here, please do type it in the chat box or unmute your audio if you're a caller, and we'll get to it before we wrap up.
Looks like Donna Weiss is a serious typer. Donna, how are you? We miss you.
And a couple of other things while we're waiting for her to finish that and for it to come through. Sonia put in a link there for any information about circuit trails. John put in a link about circuit trails and funding sources. So a great resource there. Thank you, John. If you want us to be able to start reading it, you could hit return and we could read the first paragraph or the first chapter. I'm getting nervous that it's not. Oh, okay, there we go. So for folks on the phone, Nicole, could you read through that?
Sure. Donna says, I am sympathetic to the concerns about traffic near residences. Given that there are ample parking spaces at the rec park, wayfinding signs would do a lot to direct people in the right direction.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't think there's much controversy there.
All right, last call for questions.
All right, thank you everyone for contributing. It makes for a better report. And just remember, this is just a first step. You were lucky enough to get this grant through DOT to put together a planning study, and you don't know what to spend money on until you have a plan. And once this is in place, it'll give you the opportunity to start applying for the money that is out there. And as someone who's managed about 50 of these studies, I can tell you that it's pretty unusual for everybody to implement everything all at once, but this is a great way of helping the town prioritize what's most important, to pick off some of the low-hanging fruit like the crosswalks and things like that, and just move everything forward. So this is not the end of a process, it's just the beginning. So thank you very much.
And thank you all for participating tonight. We're getting lots of great feedback in the chat box from everyone who has been on the line with us. Very appreciative of the meeting, and we thank you for joining us. Again, Mike's contact information is on the flyer, his number and email address. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to him. And I'm not sure if we discussed this, Mike, if a copy of this video and or presentation would be on the website.
Donna and Carolyn, I think that's something we had talked about that you'd be able to get up on the town website once we share it with you. We'll be able to share that in the next couple of days.
Yeah, if you have something that you could send us, then we can post that as a link. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yep, we'll get it over to you, no problem.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. It's nice to see so much interest. That's awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the meeting. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
You too.